Jeff Pinkner calls me on the first day and he's like, I'm not really a VFX guy. Just email JJ. And I'm like, "JJ?
Okay.
The guy that I've met once at a holiday party 2 years ago, but I don't even know if he knows I'm on the show." I'm like, so I literally was like, "Dear Mr. Abrams, I hope you like my visual effects shots,
Welcome to another CG garage where the monstrous moon shines. We're building new Hollywood like in 1971's prime. From Otter's bold dreams to AI's fever dream. Where tech meets the silver LED screen. Pixels and passion are pipelines unknown to host one show on a deadline postponed.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the CG Garage. This is episode number 544, featuring Jay Worth, who is a VFX supervisor extraordinaire. He has done so many VFX jobs on so many TV shows and streaming shows. In fact, he said he just surpassed 500 episodes of TV that he has been supervisor on. But that's not it. He's actually been working on some of the biggest shows around, including shows like Lost and Alias and Westworld and all those big shows, and a lot of stuff with J.J. Abrams as well, which is really cool. Most recently, he just wrapped up Fallout Season 2 and is getting ready to do Fallout Season 3, apparently. So very exciting stuff. And Jay is a really, really nice guy. What I like the most about him is the fact that he seems unbelievably collaborative, unbelievably positive, and unbelievably busy, to be honest. He even has a co-producer role on Fallout. So that's kind of a big deal and really, really cool. If anyone knows the visual effects industry, having a co-producer credit is a pretty big deal. So great to have Jay on, and very positive. I do want to have a note quickly about last week's episode with Stan and Susan about jobs in the visual effects industry. I know it does seem like a lot of doom and gloom, and I understand that. I know a lot of people I know have lost their jobs, but here's the truth. Let's just talk about this. Hollywood isn't going away. Movies aren't going away. TV shows aren't going away. What people are, or it might seem that way, but it's not. What is going away is the way that they've been done, right? We're not going to be seeing an army of button pushers to make movies anymore. And that is probably a good thing. But what I want to do with this podcast specifically is explore what those next opportunities are and what they look like. And very honestly, I don't think anyone knows yet, but this is our chance to ask that question and do it as much as we can. So if you guys would like to have more conversations about that and have ideas of people who want to be on, please let us know. We'd love to have them on. And in terms of events that are happening, I'm running around crazy. I'm getting ready to shoot a scene from June, July, which I'm very excited about. We're going to shoot it this weekend, so I'm going to be leaving early in the morning to do that. But I will be at NAB very shortly, which is in about 2 or 3 weeks now. So if you guys happen to be at NAB, I'd love to chat. I might bring my podcast gear with me. In terms of the podcast, if you guys have recommendations of things you'd like to do, including the subject I just brought up, you can always reach out to us. Our podcast page is cggarage.com. You can always email us. Podcast@cggarage.com is a great place to go. I'd also like to point out that we have a great YouTube page, which is youtube.com/@cggaragepodcast, @cggaragepodcast. And also we have a great Discord, which has a lot of great discussions on there. And if you'd like to join that Discord, it is part of the Monstrous Moonshine one. But just go to cggarage.com/Discord and that will redirect you to join the Discord. But for now, please enjoy episode number 544 with Jay Worth.
This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by CenterGrid Virtual Studio. Wondering why you went to film school just to be stuck managing hardware life cycles? CenterGrid delivers end-to-end GPU-accelerated cloud workstations built specifically for VFX and creative production, with flat, predictable pricing and personalized support from people who actually get your workflow. Plus, CenterGrid is TPN Gold Shield certified, so your studio's security is locked down. Check out what Virtual Studio can do for your pipeline at cgvirtualstudio.com. This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by Kitbash 3D, one of our favorite tools and an essential tool for 3D artists everywhere. With the largest library of cinematic quality, production-ready 3D assets, Kitbash 3D ensures that your studio has the tools to build stunning environments quickly, efficiently, and at scale. Design detailed worlds in a fraction of the time without compromising on quality. Head to kitbash3d.com and use the code CGGarage at checkout for 10% off any kit. Again, that's kitbash3d.com, code CGGarage.
Because
Well, I
we're
like talking, so we're good there.
All right.
We're
it's
a
good
chatty
deal.
bunch, and you are in good company, my friend. You are in good company. So Jay, I saw from your history a little bit that you had a similar history than most of us at starting over at Digital Domain.
Oh, no way.
Same here.
Oh, when were you guys there?
I got there 2001.
And
that's faster than me.
2006 to 2013 or 14.
Yeah, so I had done every possible job in entertainment back in the day. I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was an office PA, a set PA. My first job was the locations manager for the fourth annual SAG Awards back in the day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was the travel coordinator for the Sinbad Soul Music Festival. I was a clip coordinator for 50 years on the fast track of history of country music and NASCAR with Brooks and Dunn.
Holy moly.
Wow.
Nice. Damn.
Two things I didn't want to know about. And I was just bouncing around trying to find anything and everything. And a guy calls me and he's like, okay, a guy's going to call you right now. Don't lie being a location manager, but just say you've lived in LA your whole life because he's super desperate. Like, okay. The guy calls me. He's like, hey, you're a location manager? I'm like, no, but I lived in LA. He's like, okay, I'm desperate. And basically I had 3 days to find a place where they could shoot a special effects shoot, to set up a 40-foot high metal tube and shoot a fireball out of it at night. And I literally got on my Thomas Guide, started driving around LA, found it the last day of some weird parking lot down in Playa. And it turned out it was a visual effects shoot for Star Trek. What was it, 9 or 10 shooting? It was at the end when someone got shot with a fireball.
That's spectacular.
And he was working over at Digital Domain. He was a contracted guy, and he's like, they need help. Just go make this. And so this woman, Leslie Oliver, who's still around, I shadowed her for a day to make her life better. And they're like, you're great. I'm like, all I did was, okay, great, whatever. And they gave me my first real job. And my grandma was so happy. I had a job with benefits.
It's pretty good. And also, I just have to point out,
pretty good. I worked for DD for years before I got benefits.
No, I really did. I was a coordinator. It was 2 years of wonderful people, interesting projects, and horrible hours. And I was in the commercial division. Gabby Evans gave me my first job. Gabby Gurrier.
So were you working with Ed Ulbrich at the time?
Ed Ulbrich and Andy Mack and Fred and Ray. Mike Pardee and Holly, the whole gang.
Was Mark Glazer there too at that time? Or
I don't think so. And I worked in commercials. I only did a little stint. I popped over and helped out with Lake Placid, I did the Fight Club. I helped on the Fight Club trailer, the beginning of the bit when they came out of the gun.
Yeah, with Kevin Mack.
A little bit. Yep, Kevin Mack. So, but then working there drove me out of the business entirely. I couldn't do it anymore, and I left. And when my wife and I moved to Chicago in 2000, I left everything. I would always call the advertising agencies, and they'd all be gone at 5. So I decided to go do that for a few years. I lived in Chicago for 5 years before coming back to LA. So
what were you doing in Chicago?
I was just going to say, you brought two magical things to me. First is practical visual effects, which is such a wonderful long gone thing in so many ways, and the Thomas Guide.
The Thomas Guide, just driving around pages trying to well, that looks like something. I guess I'll drive there to see if that's a location.
For listeners, imagine if you 3D printed the contents of Google Maps
and then had it in the back of your car
that
was always under your seat.
And you always had the pages that you used too much, and they would always slip out because they were coming out.
And try to find the best routes back when you didn't have anything. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, those are the dream days. And of course, all working at Digital Domain, the like digital demand, especially the commercials division, which is where you were at. You said,
Yeah.
imagine this for the listeners. Imagine if you were to take a large, like maybe poultry factory, clear out all the chickens, and stuff in a bunch of nerds and computers. That's exactly what that was like. So this
There
was
was an
truly
article-
exciting times.
There was an article that came out today, which is basically outlining one of the largest and most dangerous homeless encampments in Los Angeles, and it was right. It was right behind.
It was behind
Digital Domain.
DD. Yeah, yeah. No, it was-
We were
that was an
actually
adventurous time.
we were actually in lockdown at one point at DD because there was a homeless guy who was probably on something really
Oh God,
sparse drugs, and they tried to tase him, and he ran away with a butcher knife while with a taser dragging behind him.
Now, this may also have been one of the production coordinators. We're not sure. Never got that story quick. Yeah,
but it was a good. I mean, that was a good place to start. I mean, you get a lot of interesting things at Digital Domain. That was the thing, right? There was always
I worked on the American
things
Express
out.
Blue. Remember those American Express Blue commercials? I did those with Eric Barba.
Yeah.
Those twisty ones. I got to do a really cool only international commercial with David Fincher back in the day. I did. Yeah, it was some really interesting, some fun stuff.
Dan and I worked with Eric quite a bit because when he moved over to features, we did a lot of stuff on Tron and Oblivion and all the other films. So
I moved to Chicago and got completely out. I worked in advertising. I tried a bunch of different things. I was a janitor. I worked at a sushi restaurant. I went to seminary. I did a bunch, and then I've told the story before, but the only person I knew, I wanted to go back to LA, but I didn't, I had no connection really with anything. And there was the only show we watched, my wife and I, was Alias. Mm-hmm. And I happened to recognize the name of somebody on it. And it was a guy I went to fifth grade. I met in fifth grade and knew all the way through high school. And I hadn't talked to him in 7 years. And we watched the finale of season 4. And I was walking home from the train on my weird old little flip phone, and called Kevin Blank, and he's like, "Oh, good thing you called me. We just wrapped. I'm looking for a coordinator. Do you want to come work with me?" And 6 weeks later, in a cornfield with Jennifer Garner. And it was really I had been trying to find what part of creativity and entertainment would fit all of these weird skill sets I had of producing, creativity, visual, creative problem solving for other people. Really, that's kind of what I realized that I got good at really early on. Actually, thanks to my theater director way back in the day. I ran a theater company in LA for a number of years, and just creative problem solving was kind of why I was able to do what I did. But yeah, it had the thing I loved about visual effects is that there's many different circuitous routes to get to how you do it. You can have people that are compositors, you can have people who went to film school. I didn't have any of that. But the thing I had was a broadcast television show done by J.J. Abrams, and the on the ground figuring it out every day from a broadcast standpoint really my film school. That, being able to be around that. And then the crazy one was on Fringe. I got promoted to be the supervisor on Fringe, and Jeff Pinkner calls me on the first day, and he's like, "I'm not really a VFX guy. Just email JJ." And I'm like, "Okay." The guy that I've met once at a holiday party 2 years ago, but I don't even know if he knows I'm on the show. I'm like, so I literally was like, "Dear Mr. Abrams, I hope you like my visual effects shots, But the funny thing is that I didn't ever have a phone call with him, and I never had an in-person meeting with him. But for 2 years, he approved every visual effects shot on Fringe. So it started this 2-year email chain of me figuring out how to verbalize something and come up with these creative ideas, and then figuring out, how to translate, this mad genius, and figure out how to make that work, and in the confines of work. And then, working, Jeff Pinkner was an amazing mentor to work with as well, to really collaboration and figuring out how to push things and what, they would just come to me. They'd be like, and then they'd write in the script, and then Jay does something here. Like it was like, well, I guess we're, and it was coming up with finding weird things on YouTube back in the day, and like, well, what about this? And finding something organic that could tie.
And this is when seasons were 23 episodes long.
Yeah,
they were a whole different time.
It was quick turnaround. It'd be like, all right, guys, we got 4 episodes to deliver before Christmas. And partnering with the right people and keeping things really lean. I mean, our budgets were minuscule. But I mean,
the budgets have changed. I mean, you've done a ton of broadcast work. You've done some very, very impressive work in the broadcast world, but I'm sure you have seen massive shifts and change of attitude in terms of broadcast, which now people will just call streaming. Right?
Yeah. Well, there's still broadcasts. There's still shows out there.
But, there's still broadcast, but it's different, right? It's not like when you did the visual effects on Flash for TNT, that was a very small budget compared to Rings of Power.
We did Alias back in the day. We had $25,000 an episode. Man,
oh man! Wow!
Can you turn on a coffee maker for that much money?
I know. We got the bump up to 80 for Fringe. Wow. So, but I will say, it's funny. One year that was because I used to do all of JJ's shows. So like at one point I when he decided to direct, why am I blanking on the name? He decided to direct Undercovers. No, he decided to direct the pilot Undercovers. And I was working on Fringe, and I'm like, well, I want to do that one too, because when is JJ going to direct another pilot? And I love Mark Petula, our executive over at Warner Brothers. He's like, how are you going to do both? I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. That started me doing multiple shows. And so I was able to do all of Bad Robot shows. I did like 9 shows, 12 shows in a row there in that little season. And one year we did.
Were you working on that from the place on Olympic to do that?
We were all over. So I basically each show had their own office. So like Fringe was above the Hustler store in West Hollywood. There was one was on the lot, one was at Bad Robot for pilots and whatnot in the old that great
typewriter building.
Yeah. But we did 50 episodes of television, 2 pilots, and 4,000 shots in 9 months.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wow!
Just
my
God! Pipeline of being able to push all that through. And there was some.
So what year was this about? Like let's.
That would have been the year of. I think it was Believe. It was after Revolution, so I think it was Believe in Almost Human, Revolution, and the end of Fringe during POI, during Person of Interest. So I think it was that weird overlap of where it was like Fringe ended, POI was going, Revolution was going, and Almost Human and Believe with Alfonso Cuarón was going on. Yeah, those were those classic days of like, wow, how are we getting all these things pushed through? But it was super fun.
Well, I mean, between that and Commercials DD, it's like you really like that's the pressure cooker where you learn to solve problems as they're thrown at you. Like it's not like I've worked on plenty of feature films where it's just like you'll end up sitting around for days waiting for the pipeline to kick out the thing that you need and stuff like this. And when you're doing this kind of stuff, it's like, I don't care who's doing it, but it's got to get done.
Dude, they'd be like, so you want TIFFs or targets? I'm like, we are delivering JPEGs, everybody. We are getting it out.
Exactly.
Get it out. I do not have time to wait for the extra 3 megabytes per frame.
Exactly, man.
But I mean, even then, we've always, interestingly enough, even as things totally changed and shifted, we didn't have a lot of money, for a lot of things. We did all of season 1 of Westworld for $3 million. The whole season.
Wow. Beautiful work.
And so we've always tried to have it not be the main thing. Do you know what I mean? We've tried to have a lean team, figure out the right partners, and just figure out where we have to spend the money versus just using it as a kind of throw it at it. So I think it's required us to be a little more focused in where we're going to spend it. I think sometimes people assume that we, do more shots sometimes, but also like, it was interesting. I actually wanted to do the breakdown of like, well, how many cuts do we even have in a season? Like how many, we still do a lot because we're doing so much cleanup. And when we do world building like we do, you end up having to remove contrails and weird things like that all over the place. That was the big one on Westworld.
Right.
But, 3,200 shots for season 2 of Fallout, 3,300 for first season.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and gorgeous work. I think that the standards you guys are meeting are just through the roof on that. The standards you guys are meeting are through the roof, and they're better than most big time movie stuff. And you're just watching 8 straight hours of this stuff. Like my son loves the show.
Oh, it's awesome.
And he is. But I wouldn't say he's uninterested in movies, but he's like movies to him are things like Fallout. And I think that the when you bring up the world building aspect of it, like I think that has become quickly the most important aspect to like my kids is like they love that as long as you have interesting characters in a really, really rich, dense, weird world, then they're plugged in. It's not that they're not there for they're not there for the Mission Impossible stuff. They're there for the depth and layering of what's happening. And you guys have like the stuff for world building and the stuff that you see in Fallout. It's just, there's like so many, like there's what's going on in the foreground, and then there's everything that's also going on in the background. It's just an incredible amount of work, and it's all beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, it's really that, and I really learned that craft on Westworld,
right. For sure.
It's similar in that we started with a property that we were able to build off of, in this technological specific time frame. And it started with Nathan Crowley, our amazing production designer, starting out with Westworld. And then really for me, it's been this partnership with Howard Cummins, and just this partnership between art department and visual effects, and the collaboration of knowing who's going to do what, when we're going to pick each other up, and how much set he builds massive, incredible sets.
Sure.
And then we add to those massive, incredible sets to make the massive, incredible world. And the richness of being able to build on top of the Fallout lore is, I think, what every department then gets to pick up those pieces. The partnership and understanding that when we add all of those together is what create that thing that you see and you're like, wow, this feels so rich and lived in. And there's a tone to it, both for the flashbacks and for the post-apocalyptic work that has a depth to it. And then that's the fun thing for me is figuring out what partners in the world I get to work with. And this year was really satisfying. I've been trying to work with the team at Raynault in Montreal for years and years and years, and our schedules had never quite lined up. And when I saw the stuff for New Vegas, I'm like, oh, finally. And I talked to them like a year and a half ago. Like, please let me work. And they nailed all of that stuff. And like you were saying, to have something that you start as a starting point and then we can add to is so much fun. And that's the same thing we did that on Westworld. Like when we decided how to build out what does their world look like, we went, well, let's use Singapore as a baseline and figure out what we can bring from Singapore to Los Angeles, and not recreate a Singapore for Los Angeles, but build off of the vibes of that and figure out how we're going to bring it back. So it's, for me, I always just like pointing at something and going, okay, well, what about that part and that part and that part? And tying,
like elaborate on something that is already interesting you know, and expand it from there. No, Chris and I were actually just talking about this. It's just like, it makes a difference if you're, you know, like if you're trying to save money on a shoot, and it doesn't matter if you shoot in New Mexico, then that's okay. But if you are shooting in New Mexico, you're shooting in New Mexico, and you should make use of, it's New Mexico. Like, you should not, like, try to make use of what that is. Don't try to force it into being something else.
Sometimes I just don't understand, you know, like why we obviously we make decisions based on tax subsidies, which is fine. Yeah. Okay. Right. But, you know, the fact that part of, you know, Oblivion was shot in Louisiana, that makes no sense, you know, in that world.
It didn't give up a Louisiana tag.
It doesn't have a Louisiana, like, that doesn't, I mean, the incentive of a location should be the location, right? Not just because it's giving you dollars. Like, you can't take Louisiana and make it look like Iceland. It makes no sense. You know what I mean? And so I just feel that sometimes we should embrace the locations we go to. You know, that's the whole reason to do a tax incentive is to promote your location. Right.
I know. And that's what we were able to do. It feels like moving from, you know, season 1, we were all over the place. You know, we were in Namibia and Utah and New York, all these incredible places. And this year we didn't leave California. So we really took advantage of all of these incredible California locations. Going out
for Fallout, you mean?
For Fallout season 2, we stuck everything was shot in California. And being able to, you know, find all of these places all over the place, Dumont Dunes and the Ontario airport. And it was really fun to be back on the streets of Melody Ranch for Freeside.
It's almost as if there was a reason the film industry came to California and started here.
It's sunny all the time.
You know, the weather, the different locations.
Yeah, I know. And to build the season around that, to know, all right, this is what we're leaning into. How can we really lean into it in a way that that is responsible and takes advantage of the story, and takes advantage of all these incredible visuals that we do have. So you're not fighting against it, like you said, to have it be a benefit and not a negative. There's so much here. I mean, that's what I always used to find amazing about back in the day when we'd shoot Alias. And they're like, so you flew all over the world? It's like, guys, we barely left the Disney lot. But you'd be amazed at how much diversity you can find in Los Angeles for looking like different places, and having it feel like a different place.
And to be fair, Vancouver can do something similar. It can pretty much look like any city in America or in the world.
Except if you try to shoot in an alley, because so many times you shoot in Vancouver and it's like in an alley in New York, and there is one alley in Vancouver.
There's the alley.
That alley shot. You can, if you've worked on it before, you watch it and you're like, oh, there it is. I know that wall. They dressed it up. They put a green screen at the end, because you always write for alleys.
A lot of trouble happens in that alley. I tell you, they really should police that thing.
I love it. Serious. No, but Vancouver is the same. You're right. You can be all over the place, you know, and I've done tons. I love shooting in Vancouver.
It's probably not shot as much, though, as the 2nd Street Tunnel in Los Angeles. That's shot in every.
That's like seeing an old friend every time that shows up.
I know, every time I do it. I love that one.
You can go back to the 60s and 70s, and you're still in there.
Oh yeah, or the L.A. River. Like, I mean, Repo Man, when they have the thing when they're chasing down. I mean, just like this. You have the giant ants and them.
Though the best L.A. River shoot was the core when they landed a space shuttle in the LA River.
Yeah, that's tough. You can retire it after that. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, even up at being in Vasquez Rocks and these different movie ranches all over LA. And
Star Trek.
Feels so
it's
good.
Incredible.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually working on a Western right now, and we're going to do a shoot, and we went up to Yosemite area, and it's all Gold Rush country up there, right?
Awesome.
And it's like really, it just looks amazing. It's like, why don't we use these places more often? You know,
and especially as you're saying, like with VFX, like you can. There's a quote that I bring up all the time from Sidney Lumet's book, Making Movies. Opens with this gag about Akira Kurosawa. He's like, I got to talk to Akira Kurosawa about my favorite shot in Ran, right? And he's like, Akira, like, how did you decide to do this? So, like, structure it this way, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then Akira Kurosawa said, no, because if you pan to the right, that's the airport. And if you pan to the left, that's the parking lot. That's why it looks like this. You know? And so you make do with what you have, and then you build out of that
And
thing.
then you make it great. And then you shoot at the right time of day so the light's good.
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
make sure it works.
Yeah, that's how you make the good. It's because the way
you can save you a ton of money by just making those choices.
Yeah. No, it's like our friend Richard Crudo, a cinematographer. He and I talk about this all the time. It's like the whole idea is you're pulling off a magic trick. Like,
I know.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't work from any other angle. It works from this angle. And this is the thing you have to solve. And so when we were working at DD and stuff like this, like that's what got burned into my brain. I'm working for Fincher as well. I mean, like he knows what the shot is. Like it doesn't have to work from 90 different angles so you have options. He's like, no, like this. And you do that and you figure it out.
And I think that's where sometimes we in visual effects fall into the trap of not asking for people to limit things a little bit more. I think sometimes we say yes a little bit too quickly. And it's like, no, you can shoot into the parking lot. We'll just throw up a green screen. And it's like, is that the best? Why don't we just stick with this one sliver? Because it's a good sliver. It's a sliver that people thought was chosen. We thought it was a sliver that was chosen. And that's for me, the privilege of getting to collaborate with, Jonah and Lisa, and Howard and, all the directors.
I do want to talk a lot about that because I think that's an important part. I think, the thing that's, and this comes up as well. Like when you see visual effects people to try to make their own features, it's amazing how much they avoid visual effects because they know how much it's going to cost, right? As opposed to someone else basically saying, I don't know, I haven't figured it out. We'll just do that in visual effects. And so then the visual effects budget balloons for no reason when they could have just spent a little more time figuring out another solution that works. You have had the opportunity to work much more closely with creators in making sort of creative decisions that go along. How did you get to that point? What is the way that you found that has enabled you to be much more collaborative with those creators in that way?
Wow, that's a good question. It's interesting because when I started back on Alias and Lost, and when Fringe was my baby, as my first supervising job, it started out as actually a little bit less collaboration because the train moved so fast. It was a lot of, let's just get it done. The writers had written it. I hadn't even met with them. And all of a sudden I'm getting the page and a crane's falling in episode 4 and I've got Warner Brothers freaking out. And it's like, I don't know how we're going to do it. Cranes don't look good when they fall. Everybody knows it. Does everyone know when a crane hits the building that it looks like a wet noodle? It doesn't look cool. Like, what do we do? Whereas on the page, it's this amazing thing. And so it started as just trying to get it done. And then over the course of Fringe, there became this shift of, oh, wait, this is a tool we can use, not something we just have to deal with. Sometimes visual effects back in the day was like, oh, we just got to deal with the visual effects of it all. I don't really want to deal with it. It's not really something I want to deal with. I don't want to think about it. I just want it to be done. And I just don't want it to worry about it. But part of it was JJ being such an amazing advocate and VFX nerd of him understanding the power of the tool of it. If you watch The Lost Pilot, oh my goodness, the understanding, no, we're going to build a huge plane and still all the crazy visual effects they did in it, of understanding which parts to lean into and the collaboration of that, and understanding that it's an incredibly powerful tool that can be used in each of those ways. So it was that ethos at the very beginning. And then for me, it was as I started working on non-Bad Robot shows of figuring out how to advocate for that. So, I worked with the great team over on The Magicians. And that was once again, I came in second season on that after they had a not great experience first season. And they started to get it. Like they started to see, oh, wait, if we bring you in early enough, we can understand what we can do here. And so it was always that thing of, I would just beg people. I'm like, just bring me in early. if you bring me in early, we can do so much. We can figure out how to do these cool things. And so, another one, like I worked with Jon Favreau on Revolution. And so when Counterpart came up, Justin Marks, he knew Justin Marks.
Justice for Counterpart. I have to tell you, that show was amazing.
It was
I
fun.
actually inadvertently worked for you on that show. I did some Mad Painting on that show. Yeah.
There you go.
I love that. Was just like, you got to see this. You got to see this. And it was
so fun.
Yeah.
But it was that thing of being brought in early enough to be able to use visual effects in a way that it respects the artists and respects the process, and you're not throwing something up at the end just trying to make it work and everybody doesn't feel good about it, from the production all the way down to the artists, and they're just trying to make it work versus using this as a tool to elevate storytelling, to elevate the artistry, to create a space for creatives to be able to create as well. Because that just takes time. Sometimes it takes that time of going, no, we're going to figure it out, and we're only going to commit to what we really can execute well. So it started, and then thankfully, as I was able to start advocating for that, and because I had that relationship, it was funny. I was able to do all of those projects, and then I realized that it was Athena Wickham and Kathy Ling on JJ's team that were the ones bringing me in early. I'd go in these pilot meetings, and I'd be meeting with the director, and halfway through I'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is an interview," because they would come and they're like, "You can pick your DP, you can pick your editor, you can pick we got this great VFX guy," and I was then able to go meet with them, and thankfully they all worked out. But I was brought in so early at that process because I was just part of the team and part of the family, that it was a real privilege to be able to speak to those things at the very early days on those scripts, pilot scripts, before they ever went anywhere, and being able to steer things a little bit to create. I always joke that I try and create a safe place, sandbox for everybody to play in. Like, if we just know what our sandbox is, you can run around and do whatever you want. But let's just make sure we understand how big a sandbox we have for each project.
Well, it struck me. You said you worked as a theater manager. Is that right?
I worked in theater for years, and I was I started a theater company in Santa Monica called the Santa Monica Civic Light Opera back in the day.
That is spectacular. I was going to say, this sounds like there's a little bit of that in what you're talking about right now.
Dude, all we're doing is putting on a show, man.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing. I always joke with my team. I'm like, guys, opening night's coming. We might not like what's going to be on the stage. We might not like what's going to be on the screen, but it's coming. And let's just deal with what we can deal with. And
or the show is going on, and we have to make it. We have to adapt. Like we have to
make it work.
Yeah, we have to make it work.
It's interesting because Daniel and I have been sort of advocating. We've had this thing that we've been working on called VidViz, which is a way of essentially doing rehearsals before you shoot.
Right.
Oh, that's
so we know everything we're trying to do, because we do. I mean, this has been a complaint, and I'm sure you're aware of this, that everyone just shoots the crap out of something and then figures it out later in edit or whatever. And they never really make a committed decision when they're actually doing production, including the script. And so having that rehearsal and having that idea is sort of a critical part to do it. And I'm sure, like you said, if the theater experience, like, you can't just sort of figure out the play when it's going on opening night. Right?
No. We've had those moments. I remember blocking the finale at intermission once. That was not smart.
Oh, spectacular. But the fact that you're able to do it is the best.
That was high school.
Yeah.
That was high school. Oh man, that was the first. I remember that was the first show I was in. We were figuring out the finale for Bye Bye Birdie at intermission. I'm like, what are we doing?
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, because I mean, that's the thing. Like, Chris is right. It's like I feel like what studios are only just starting to realize recently is, like, if you keep on kicking creative decision making off to the end of the project, you're going to spend a lot of money on mediocre decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you're going to get.
I mean, and like I said, I always would just try and give people the parameters. Like I remember back before you could do these things well, and I would meet with, it was on The Magicians. I remember I'm like, here's before, because this was back when you would, the writer's room would be starting while you're still finishing. They're writing the whole season. They're getting it up and running. You're going to go into production like a couple months after you finish wrapping. And all of a sudden the train's gone too far down the path. So I'm like, bring me in the first day of the writer's room and I'm just going to give you some layouts. And it was like, I remember my first time, like, all right, so we don't have a lot of money and time. So I'm just going to tell you no fire, no fur, no water. Let's just start with that.
That's it. Yeah.
That was our parameters. I'm like, if you got a creature, just no fur. If you're going to do a big effect, let's figure out some practical. And back then it was a little harder to do fire unless you're just doing it all. I'm like, let's just start with that. And then if you have little bits, but I just don't want to read a thing and it's all of a sudden a water creature that then grows hair.
Yeah, right. Because you get creative with the stuff that's in front of you. If you're doing if you're doing improv and you're taking a couple of words from the audience, like you're forced to be creative. Okay, refrigerator, sofa, blah blah blah. And now you make a story. Like that is way better than trying to come up with a story out of a million words.
And now,
that was exactly by the way the parameters that what's his name? District 9 director.
Neil.
Neil Blomkamp. He when he made his creatures, is like put tentacles in front of their mouth so I don't have to do lip syncing, and then make them scaly things so there's no fur. Make their clothes real tight so I don't have to do too many cloth scents.
Then you're going to apply your creativity to a problem. Like you're like, okay, we need to hide the mouth, but let's be really interesting about this. Like it's going to come up with a better alien design than like, okay, you can do whatever you. I think this is what I always say about we use it, like people using AI is like the hardest thing about AI anything is that it can do a pretty good job at anything. And when it allows you to do literally anything, you're like, I guess that's fine. And then you sort of leave it alone. Whereas like if you have like very limited options, you have to get creative and use the moneymaker in order to do it. And that's
where the parameters, like now we can do almost anything. So it's like, but we shouldn't do everything.
Exactly.
And it's figuring that out. But the District 9 one, my fun story with that one was my on-set supervisor for Fringe back in the day, Bob Habros up in Vancouver. He just calls me. He's like, "Oh, I just did this small little movie. You should check it out over the summer." And I go and see it, and it's District 9. He gets an Oscar nomination for District 9, and he's still our on-set supervisor.
That's amazing.
You're underselling yourself a lot.
Just
a different year, you might have been the ex machina, but you were up against Avatar. It's not happening, but
I almost thought Sinners was going to take it from Avatar this year.
I think that must have been pretty close. That was some pretty great stuff.
That was very close.
But I definitely feel like that's we're coming into an age now where having that kind of discipline is becoming more and more necessary for people going in because the money is less, the demands are higher, and if you're not prepared to figure it out, then the job's going to go to somebody else.
Yeah, shooting on film helps for not shooting everything. So we still shoot on film.
Right. Good point. Good point.
So we've actually had several DPs on the show as well. We actually were very fortunate to have Autumn on, who just won the Oscar for Sinners.
Yep.
Yeah. So she's been on the show. She was on last year, and that she shot on film, right? And what was fascinating, she said she loves film, right? And she loves the look of film, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things she loves the most about film is that it involves discipline. You can't screw it up, right?
The discipline is built into the mechanism.
Into the mechanism. So like when you're shooting, get it right, because I've got this giant IMAX camera here and it's got only 70 seconds worth of film in it. So get it right. Yeah. And that puts pressure on everyone to just do it right and just not like, I don't know, we'll just do it kind of like 17 different ways and figure it out later, Right.
The same thing with shooting on a volume set. Like we shoot on a volume set with a film camera. And, talk about rehearsing and discipline. The testing you have to do. I mean, you shoot on a volume stage with a digital camera. You go look at the DIT tent, and everybody looks at it. You're like, make a tweak. Let's bring up the luminance.
Maybe a little bit of this.
Let's check that. Okay, let's shoot again. For us, we shoot all these brackets. We then have to go into dailies, go back, guess again, figure it out. And we try to, as a rule, shoot final pixel for all of our volume work.
That's amazing.
And
that's amazing.
It's, like you said, it's having the right team. The team at Magnopus has done just incredible work for us, and with us for years on that. And also, though, once again, picking the right sets. Like, all right, well, this year we had a lot of fun for the volume stuff because we really did try to push it, right? Season 1, we did some really cool stuff. The farm set made perfect sense. The vaults made perfect sense. The flying stuff made perfect sense. This year, we're like, okay, what if we took a vault, did it abandoned, but then poked a hole in the ceiling and had natural light spilling in? What does natural light look like for a volume set? So that was having to push. Let's push it to try and figure out how to emulate more natural sunlight. That was the other thing we really wanted to work on this year. So if you watch what we did this season, we put them on the deck of the dirigible, and all of that stuff was shot, and we shot this crazy 9-camera drone out in Dumont Dunes over the desert. And placed the sun there, and then popped out the panels and blasted it with light, and trying to figure out how to get that stuff. And you gotta. That's where you, once again, trusting your DP to balance this thing out where it feels like that hot desert natural sun, while not contaminating the rest of the volume, right? We did that, and then we also decided to make it hard on ourselves with the introduction of the Deathclaw. We said, well, what if we shoot it at night with fire as the only source, in snow on a volume set, and do it out, make it feel like it's outside? So we're like, all right, well, let's try. Once again, it actually worked pretty great. Throwing that much snow onto a volume set. You had to commit to it because there's no replacing that. But it looked so good.
Yeah, but I think committing to the bit is what delivers the bit. Like when there's only one way out, like you're going to make sure that works.
And it was really, once again, leaning into the final product instead of the technology. So it took a minute to go like, no, throw it all away. Let it fall off. Let the fire be the only source, because that'd be the only source if we were shooting for real. If we were shooting for real in the middle of the forest, we'd have the fire as the source, and we'd probably be asking you to turn off the 10Ks that are raining light down, 100, 500 yards away, because it just makes it feel too lit. And that was one of the fun things, was using the piece of technology not as the technology, but as the storytelling device. Like, we're wanting to be here because it is easier than being out in a snowstorm in the middle of nowhere with this huge power armor and a huge stunt sequence and fire and everything else. Let's try to use this tool in a creative way that gives us a result, but we're not beholden to it. We're not making it the show. We're still letting the story be the show and letting the
it's like Ricky Jay, the great card trick guy, right? Like Ricky Jay,
one of JB's favorite, by the way.
Oh my God, unbelievable, dude, unbelievable. That guy was one of the champions, and he could make a 20-minute gag out of a nickel. Like, that's it. That was his tool to distract you at the right time while he's giving the pattern, doing the thing. And you'd be like, wait, what just happened? Yeah, exactly. Like, you're just shocked over and over and over again. And the way that works is like, you're always, and this has been the same with the stage, is like you can make people forget anything, any of the giveaways, if you can get their attention on the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, if they're paying attention to the story and they love the characters, like if they're locked in on that, they're not going to notice the stage and the concession stand and the exit lights. They're not going to see any of that stuff. And Absolutely. I think that's what people forget so much especially when you see like bad volume work, which we've seen tons of. Like, people thought that this would be some sort of magic bullet, just like, oh, great, now we can just do it. And I'm like, this looks like when people look at this in 10 years, it's going to look like 1973, Weatherman chroma key. And whereas like stuff that you've done for like Fallout, like, just, I'm in it.
I'm not even thinking about it. Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it at all.
That's the point, right?
Yeah, it's just, it's I still love a good translate. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, why are we putting green screen out of window ever? Ever.
Exactly.
Put something out there. You know, throw some shears up there and throw a translate out there. I'm trying to think, did we have any green screen out windows this year? We did. Howard printed a bunch of translates for us and just backings, and I would add smoke to the backing shot.
Yeah, we did it. We did a short film. Daniel and I did a short film years and years ago, but we had a car shot, and we didn't want to. The DP was working with us, and we didn't put any green screen out there. We just put white sheets and just blew them out.
Every time.
Yeah, shake the camera a little bit. Okay,
we're pretending like you're in a car. And they're like, you guys are visual effects people. I want to exactly.
Yeah, 2x4 on the car bumper. Come on, give me the car bumper.
This is it. Well, like because our DP Richard Critter was talking. He worked on like Blood Simple and Raising Arizona and stuff like this, and he's just like, oh yeah, we just like mount the camera on a 2x4 and we just run around like this, and he's just like. That's filmmaking, my friend.
No, my favorite one was JJ's trick for guys running. Did you ever see that one?
No.
He was famous for banging the back of the camera, but what he would do is he'd put you on a super long lens, and I remember we were on the roof of a building downtown and he did it for Star Trek and Star Wars all the time, but we were on a rooftop, and he's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to put you on a super long lens, and you're going to run in place, and I'm going to hit the camera, and it's going to work great. And literally the actors are like, what? And so literally the actors are just running in place. And he's just banging the camera. And I'm like, Jesus.
And the thing is, I mean, like, at least for me, like, that's the fun stuff. Like, all of our work should always have that mindset. Like, they're like the worst times I've ever had in filmmaking are when everything has been broken down into very predictable, like, okay, we have to turn these frames out for so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. But when you're like, I don't know how we're going to get this done today, but it will get done today. It's amazing how much fun that pressure can be if you're of the right mindset. And I think that, like, you in particular, like, I looked at your filmography, and like, you've been a part of some of the most, how can I say it, like, convincing gags I've ever seen, and the most like the like settings and worlds that like aren't showy. They just appear in your mind as real places when you remember them. You know, even back to Cloverfield. Like Cloverfield, I love Godzilla movies. I love all that stuff. I love monster movies like that. But Cloverfield, I hadn't seen it in maybe, I don't know, 10 years or something. And I walked in the living room, my son was watching it, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen this in a while. And for a moment, I was like, I bet it doesn't hold up. Totally sucked in.
It holds up.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing.
Holds up.
And as the effects are great, has such a great sense of place and world building, and does everything stone cold in a way that many movies today have forgotten how to do. You know?
And done so fast. Oh my goodness, we did that movie, and like, I was the coordinator on it. Kevin Blank was the supervisor. And my goodness, I think we did the whole thing in like 6 months.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Shot only like 4 days in New York, and the rest was all here in LA.
Wow.
Terrific movie. Terrific looking movie. Terrific movie.
Oh, great. When I was the coordinator on that, do you want to guess how many shots I had? Now, some of them were stitches, but how many records I had for my database for the entire movie?
No idea.
150.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Dude.
Some of them were like a few thousand frames long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. But I mean, we figured out that it ended up being the normal, like if it was 3 seconds per shot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the normal. It would have been more like 700 shots.
Yeah, it goes on for shots. Quite some time. It was
hilarious. Yeah.
Someone looked up original Blade Runner, and they realized they counted all the visual effects shot in Blade Runner. It was 56 shots.
Yeah.
Pretty convincing.
Yeah. Ours was, we broke it down. If it had been like the normal 4 to 5 seconds a shot, it was like, it would have been over like 800, 900, 750, something like that.
Yeah. Right.
But it was still just a different, but like you said, we didn't have a lot of time. We didn't have a lot of money. We weren't going to show the creature a lot. It was going to be about and we did some crazy big world building. But they built some pretty great sets, and it was about what you could do with the parameters of what you had,
and, like, it's locked in on this very, 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 very limited scope, but what you're seeing within that scope is just hinting at something unbelievable,
Yeah. And it was that taking the TV mindset that Drew Goddard and JJ had and Matt Reeves and going, all right, let's run with it. And let's do it let's try and do something unique.
And Reeves has obviously gone on to other great successes. Another great world builder. Yeah.
I know, talk about it. Same thing with Drew. I just saw Drew a few months ago, actually. And he's got Project Hail Mary coming out next week, right?
Oh my God, I can't wait. We are both giant fans of that book. That's one of my favorite sci-fi books in a long time.
There's still that, like you were saying, it's the figuring out the magic trick, right? It's and that's why we have such great collaboration with all the different departments, and still understanding that visual effects is going to do a lot. You know what I mean? There's never a doubt. It's just how to balance that out.
It's another performer in the show, like this.
How do you do I mean, from what I've heard, you sort of approach visual effects on a show a little bit differently than most visual effects people. You look at it different. And, by the way, I noticed your name comes up as, one of the co-producers on the show or co-executive producer.
That was a huge honor that they gave me last year.
Yeah, which is amazing. So you are way more collaborative on that side than I think most visual effects people are. How do you manage that, and what's your advice for people that want to try to work on these types of things?
I mean, it's finding those people that you trust, and building that trust, with your creators, and them understanding like we were saying, the benefits of what you can get out of visual effects when you do that, that it doesn't have to be a burden. Sometimes I think it can feel like that, on certain shows, that it's like, it's like this huge line item and it's going to suck up all my time because, we maybe didn't plan it out right. But I just have never had that with Joan and Lisa, and that whole team. And I haven't had that, honestly, in a lot of my projects. I've been really fortunate to be able to get in with the folks that I get in with, and just kind of explain my methodology, which is, let's tell me how much you got, tell me how much time we have, and then trust when I say no, that it's always and I never say no. I always try to have a reason that story-wise, I'm like, this is my acting. Like, I'll figure out a way for this to make sense for your story and not just say no. And if we're at the point of truly having to say no, usually it's a financial and a time, or like you were saying, we can't do 40 shots in 2 weeks or whatever, like whatever those parameters are. So it's finding people that trust that process, and then just building up that trust over years. And then it's that next thing of making sure all the people are on board with that. Cause it's one thing to have your showrunner all behind that and your production designer behind that. And then, you might have a DP that doesn't want to do that, or, you might have an actor that doesn't want to do that, or whatever it is. And those become the challenge points of just creative problem solving and working with various, people and personalities. But I think the diplomacy aspect of visual effects is an art that probably needs to be taught a little bit more, maybe just so people coming up.
What's your advice on that? Like, what could you tell people about?
Just understanding and trying to figure out when to push your chips in the middle of the table. Like, it's really a knowing when to say yes and knowing when to say no, and having a large enough scope to the whole project to go, we can say yes to that one, or wait, no, we really need this. I can see where this is going to go if we say yes to that. And understanding how that works. So it's, and So I guess the one thing I would say, you have to answer the question more specifically, is understand what you're good at and don't try to try to be good at something else. Like I didn't go to film school. I'm not a compositor. I'm not going to talk tech with a showrunner about how we're going to do something. But I do understand how creative works, and I understand how to talk to a showrunner and speak their language. And that's like what I find fun, and that's what I find to be what I'm really good at. I remember one of my favorite meetings, I met with Cameron Crowe before we were doing roadies.
Oh yeah,
And
nice.
the first, he's like, Jay, these blue screen shots need to feel like hope. And I'm like, the best things I've ever heard in my life.
That's
And
amazing.
I all of a sudden understood exactly what he was going for.
Yep.
And from then on, I'm like, all right, I know what we need to do. Like, this is about how it makes, and every showrunner has different things. They're like, no, some of them are far more specific. Jonah knows way more about visual effects than a lot of people. Same with JJ. I would bake a creature and he's like, can you send me the model? I just want to play with it. Like, okay.
That's amazing. That's great. Yeah.
He's composited more shots than I have. By a lot.
Although he probably should not have done the title sequence that everyone complained about.
We asked if he wanted to change it. I'm like, do you want us to change the alias scene on Lost? He's like, I kind of like it. I'm like, okay.
Keep it.
Oh my God. The fan base that have tried to submit it for him, like we fixed it. It looks exactly the same except the alias thing.
Nope.
Everyone was upset. Nope.
He loved it. He's like, I know what it is. I loved it. So it's finding out what you're good at. Do you know what I mean? Sure. And then finding the collaborators that lean into those talents that you have. And that's the fun part. And I've been able to, just work with a lot of different people. I hit 500 episodes of television sometime last year.
Oh my God, dude. That's incredible.
It's just been able to work with so many different types of people. And because of that, taking all of that for each project and then kind of condensing it all into this, what am I doing on Tuesday when I got a production meeting or whatever it is, and trying to bring those ideas and just have fun with it,
You seem fairly calm and collected for someone who just does 500 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, part of that's just that whole priorities and perspective. And realizing that it's a privilege and an honor and a joy, but it's, there's other things that are bigger and more important.
Well, you've adapted very well to what's going on. Obviously, we know that the world is, of visual effects and filmmaking is seemingly in crisis, but somehow you are thriving within this new world. What would you say would be some of the things that you've learned that enable you to be able to be as productive and as fit as well as you do in this area?
I think it's understanding each tool is still a tool. That the people are still the driving factor of everything. That for me, I've got two things. I've got collaborators and showrunners and creatives that I'm trying to process their creative vision, and they're trusting me with that. And then it's building relationships with artists in the world and knowing which artists are going to thrive in which environments. And now it's gotten to the point that I feel so privileged because I've worked with the same people now for so many years. The gang at COSA, for crying out loud, I think they've touched every single project I've ever worked on in some way, shape, or form.
I love those guys.
I've given them some relational shots back in the day. I'm like, all right, guys,
we've all done
here's your too. And then just, the relationship you get with teams like ILP and Rise and now with I'd never gotten to work with ILM, and I'd been good friends with Rob Brado for 20 years outside of work. And we kind of came up together when he got a supervising job on Surf's Up and I got a supervising job on Fringe. And then he called me. He's like, I'm now the CTO of Sony. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing the same job anymore, buddy, but thanks for, but to be able to to know him for so long and just being able to want to work with ILM, obviously, for so many reasons. And then to have the Deathclaw come up this year and be like, perfect. And it was actually harder. I remember the last season of Westworld, it was the hardest time in the industry because there were some people I couldn't work with because they were all busy. So that was actually one of the harder seasons of television I did. And I realized, and it's not surprising, I said yes to a bunch of stuff, and then the artists weren't there, and the process ended up being a lot more difficult because we didn't have that.
Like in a sense, like when you work with a great team, it's like any great director, you see the same names in the credits around them the whole time. Just David Lynch worked with like the same 5 guys, that kind of jazz. And it's like because he recognizes like it doesn't all just come from David Lynch. Like it's the flavor of the soup that these ingredients create, and that's what you're selling.
I remember asking Jon Favreau, I was on when I did Revolution with him, I'm like, what's the most important thing, period? He's like, cast, department heads. That's it. And then trusting that they're going to do it. He's like, that's it.
Absolutely.
He's like, that's my job. My job is to find the right people and then trust that they're going to be able to do it. And that's what I love about working with, Kilter, and that they trust their department heads. And we've all worked together for so long that, we all go back all the way to Westworld. And some of them might go back to even Person of Interest on. And there's that trust of, no, we got this. And I know we're going to have each other's back when it comes to that creative. And we're not going to be asking each other to do things that isn't fair or isn't the best use of time and resources and creative execution.
And it gives you creative room because people are trusting you back and forth. 100%. Like that's where the best answers are going to come from. Yeah, it's like Chris and I shot this, like the biggest thing that I'd ever directed, and big stage, lots of people running around, all this stuff. And our line producer came up to me. It's like, wow, a lot of people. Are you freaked out yet? And I took a second. I was like, no. And I realized I'm looking around at everything, and I'm just like, everybody here knows what they're doing, and the only person who like the cinematographer had to go, we're in trouble. If the writer had to go, we're in trouble. If the actors have to go, we're in trouble. If I left, it's still happening. Like it's gonna happen.
That's
Everything
so
is
funny.
doing. Yeah, it's
still putting on a show, man.
Yeah,
just putting on a show.
Yeah, director is the least important person.
It's the least important person. Like I'm only there to offer my opinion. That's all I'm there to do.
That's funny.
But I think that's the attitude that I really I search for myself in working with folks. And like I think that it's like if anyone goes on IMDb and sees your film list, like it shows like that if you want to be working on quality shows, your advice is exactly correct. Like connect with people that you truly respect and like working with, and you will be attached to more and more exciting things because you do great work together.
Yeah, and then they, and that was the benefit actually, interestingly enough, of working in broadcast so much back in the day, is that you work with so many people when you used to be on those shows.
Yeah.
Because there would be like, you'd work on a couple shows and you're like, wow, all of these people. I was joking with someone, they're like, yeah, all of my friends are now heads of studios, and it's like, after a while now, Allison's off doing Dune, and these, all these people are doing all these different shows, and it's super exciting. But, when you just start out and thankfully you got exposed to 15 directors and 4 DPs and all these different showrunners and different writers and different people in the room and different executive producers. And thankfully then they all go off and start doing other things. And that's how all the jobs come. And then sometimes they go work at a studio, and it just helps.
I can't tell you how many times that's happened where I've had, I was at a coordinator that I worked with, and she was an intern, and then 4 years later she's an executive at Netflix.
Right, for sure.
It happens all the time.
Right.
So
yeah, absolutely true.
And that's where, once again, trying to keep those relationships strong throughout the whole thing, and just letting kindness lead what you do in everything you do. I try to surf a lot. I try to be with my family a lot, and I try to just keep those priorities so that you can come and do your best work.
Are you based in LA?
Yeah, I've always been based in LA.
All right. Is that where you're from? Are you from California?
Yeah, I grew up in Malibu back in the day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Back in the day.
Well, we're all in LA. It's funny that we're all on Zoom, but
we're all Zooming anyway.
Easier at the time.
Yeah,
it's true.
What do you say? I mean, in terms of, obviously things are changing. Like, what's your prediction in terms of how things are going to be in terms of your job or the jobs of visual effects people?
Picking up on that thread again, I think once again, for me, like the AI question, it's still a tool. I think it's this. We're in the same thing that we thought the volume was. Everyone thought the volume was the magic bullet.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's a tool. Let's use it as the tool. It's the same thing with AI. It's a tool that I've gone now out to all of my VFX artists and said, okay, let's help drive this. How do you want to use this tool? How do your artists want to use this tool?
Right.
What is going to make it, how can we keep doing what we're doing, but make it better, more efficient, whatever it is? How do you want to use the tool? And I mean, Jonah's said this. He's like, there's never been a piece of technology that's made things cheaper. Digital cameras was supposed to make it cheaper. So it's like, what if we just don't try not to think that is the goal, but try to use the tool, particle systems, Maya, Avid, whatever. It always is a tool that hopefully will make the human's life, the creative folks, more efficient and more enjoyed and being able to do more. And then my responsibility feels like is to try to take those benefits and don't abuse those benefits. So my goal is not to be like, okay, cool, now I can deliver an episode, a season in 6 weeks. Let's just take all the worst things about visual effects and how we used to abuse artists and now
and
maximize.
Right.
So it's trying to do what I can to protect that from a studio level and from a show level, and be a little bit of that, continue to be the advocate for artists. And I try not to be the one changing things and allowing things to change so that someone has to lose another weekend of time because we couldn't get our act together.
And to plug into the fact that these are artists that are working for you and working with you. I mean, like, make use of this. These are real people that are, exactly. And I think that, like, the what you said about AI as a tool is I hope that people stop using the term AI soon. Because I think if you're using something to create an image that's in your mind, you're the artist. It's just what it is. You're the one who says, and no one else does.
Yeah. So it's just figuring out what that looks like, and we're prepping season 3 right now. And we're doing our best to figure out what is that going to look like? What does it look like, in this new season? What tools do we want to use, and how do you want to use them?
Well, I think it's interesting because, for example, I remember back in the day, I've used this example before, but there were people, I work for Chaos. My day job is working for Chaos, and we invent V-Ray and we do all of that stuff. But I remember there were certain people a long time ago that were very upset because Chaos removed a bunch of settings in V-Ray that were unnecessary because V-Ray got smarter and didn't need to use those settings, right? And so they were upset because their job was they knew which buttons to push, and that was their thing, right? And I know how far to move the slider to make the shot more efficient or whatever it is. And it was like, you don't need that anymore. And they got very upset. And all I can say is that that's a true thing that happened. Don't fall into the same trap with AI where you're going to be like, I'm an expert prompter, because that job doesn't mean anything. You're actually more important to be like, I'm an expert artist.
You have to have discipline and taste. That is your actual job.
Yeah. Knowing how to connect something in comfy. Comfy might not be around in a few years.
And of course, I say all this, and then I look back when I learned Photoshop. I learned Photoshop in Photoshop 3.2 or something like that. Unbelievable. And I remember when it went, when they got layers, when they included layers, I was all pissed off. I was like, I don't even know what's going on.
Where'd my Photoshop go?
This doesn't make any sense. Why would anybody use this? So I hear people on the resistance angle, but I think that
it's more important. It's not a skill set specifically. It's a work attitude and a way to recognize the good from the bad. I think is very important, right?
And I think that's really all it ever comes down to, right?
Yeah.
It's still, and that's where I mean, just have confidence in your perspective and your creative voice, and that your singularity matters.
Yes,
Yes. That's why you were hired on the project. Don't try to be somebody else. If you got it, embrace it, and trust that your voice and your visual, what you bring to it matters.
This is great creative advice up and down the line, my man. I really
exactly. You're and everything. Yeah, like you said, every single step along the way. Just embrace what you have to give and give it freely. My wife and I talk about, she's an artist, and we do a class on creativity together. And it's like, creativity is not a pie. It's aware of its own abundance. And it doesn't mind sharing. That's what, talent hopefully doesn't mind sharing. And it should be aware that there's abundance there, and it doesn't have to be hoarded.
Yep. Well said. Well said.
Very well said. Now, moving just a real quick one. Moving away from the AI. Let's not use AI in this specific.
Sure.
But there is definitely climate change in Hollywood in terms of what movies get made, how things are done, etc. Everyone wants to blame AI for the problem, but I don't necessarily think AI is always a thing. There is a different navigation of how to approach a filmmaking budget-wise, et cetera, et cetera. How do you navigate that? How do you navigate getting a job in this field? Like, where would you go? Like, what are you looking for when you're looking for talent to work with?
Oh, interesting. I'm definitely looking for people that are curious and want to figure out what they want to do in something. But like from an artist standpoint, it's funny. I can look at a reel of somebody and pretty much know pretty quickly if our aesthetic's going to match. And I can't even put my finger on anymore of what it is and what it isn't. I used to do that. It was a fun one I used to do with Jonah when we were figuring out who was going to do season 3 of Westworld. We were coming back to California, and we had to do like 75% of our work in California, which was fun. But I stripped off vendor IDs from a bunch of reels, and I showed him 9 different vendor reels. I'm like, all right, here's the goal. After this, we're going to pick our environment work and our hard surface work. That's it. That's what we're going to do. We looked at 9 reels, and we both were like, all right, there's hard surface, there's environment. Done.
Right.
Like, and we just could tell from looking at the thing which one felt most like there was more of a feeling than anything else.
Sure.
Total a vibe check. And I can tell pretty quick from a vibe check on who I feel like I'm going to click with creatively. And it's worked out across the board over and over and over and over and over again of trusting that internal check. And once again, it's just trusting that there's a ton of artists doing amazing work in the world, but when it comes to a certain shot, one gets to work on it. Like one group of people gets to work on one thing, and it's setting everyone up for success. Figuring out that you're not going to be fighting some very natural tendencies of what that's going to look like. And that just comes with, experience, and also deciding what that is. what that taste is, and making sure your tastes align, hopefully, with your creative teams.
That's right.
That you're all on the same page for that.
Yep.
Well, what are you up to now? If you can say anything that you're up to.
I'm prepping season 3.
Already, so nice.
Prepping season 3, which is awesome. I'm still. I work with the team. Chris Pratt and Dave DiGilio on the Terminalist projects. So we've done
great.
Dark Wolf, and we're finishing up season 2 right now for that.
Oh, these are great. I love these shows. Both, those are really great. Pratt's fantastic.
The tactical exactness of those shows are amazing.
That's a blast.
So that's been fun.
Yeah.
But and just doing figuring out a lot of stuff for continuing to get the word out for Fallout season 2. It's such a great episode, a great season. I think it probably got lost a little bit in the mix there during the holiday season, during the tidal wave of Stranger Things.
Right. Yeah.
So it's been season 2. We did so much fun stuff this year. It was
clearly a much bigger show.
It wasn't though. It was 150 less shots, 150 less shots, 300 more ghoul nose shots.
Right.
More ghoul noses. Yeah. But that was the fun thing about the season, was once again building on what we did season 1, and just kind of layering on, some specifics for New Vegas. Some really unique locations, and getting to do the Deathclaw and the Rat Scorpion. It was really satisfying to be able to bring kind of these pinnacle aspects of the game to life.
Oh yeah, these are iconic gags. Yeah, absolutely terrific. Yeah, I'm an old school video game fan, old school Fallout fan, and my son in particular is a huge Fallout. Like New Vegas is his jam. That's one of his favorite games of all time. Yeah, so this is a big deal.
So what was your favorite part for the season?
Like I'm really I'm very much down with the way that it is because one of the most important things in the game to me is sort of the factions and the sort of the way the world is built out through groups of people, and I feel like this was even more successful.
This one really had it really
felt like
it was a lot of different things. Like
it was more richly built out than the season was great, but this was much more richly built out in that way.
Brotherhood and California Republic and
exactly, and because that's the kind of stuff I can. If I'm watching something and I'm like, I wish they would do a spin-off show on this, then I'm in a good space. Because I just want I talk with my my son about this all the time. Like the way that my kids look at IP is different than the way that we look at IP. Like meaning us old dudes. It's like when I'm sure you'll agree. Like when Alien came out. There's the Prime film, there was Alien, and then there was a bunch of ancillary stuff. Like you could read the novelization by Alan Dean Foster, or the blah blah, whatever you want, right? But when now, there's a world called Fallout, right?
Yeah,
and there's all these different windows into that world, and each point of view reinforces the others, and so by watching this, makes the game feel deeper to me, to my son, and the more we do, the more he does in the game, the more he thinks about the show, the more the characters start to. It becomes a full world building experience, which is essentially what we've been talking about the whole time.
Well, we've always wanted. It's the dream, right?
Yeah, and I think that sort of creating that base layer of trust with the audience, that you're in a place that we're prepared to go anywhere, show you anything, but we're showing you the best thing, is what has sucked him in further than any movie I've ever shown him.
Interesting. Yeah, there's something about when we can build on canon, but the team at Bethesda has been amazing at letting us build on that. Not, that's why him and Jonah had such that mind meld that he's told the story of. He's like, people had come wanting to recreate something. He's like, I don't want to recreate something. No. Then he saw Westworld. He's like, I want that guy to figure out what this looks like.
Yeah.
And being able to figure out what it looks like has been the fun part. And what parts to lean into for that, from a lore perspective, we throw so much stuff into the frame of like just things that we love from the game,
Yep.
Let's make sure that if we're going to add something, let's add this, let's add that. Where is it on the map? All right, let's pull up the, we just do the deep dive all the time.
Yeah.
Well, what about we did? Well,
and every little thing that gets added
and everything, all of it.
Yeah. Like every little thing that gets added is essentially like another star in the constellation of the picture that's being described for you, right? And like I always talk about, there's this great book called Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, and it's written as a comic book. It's basically an art manifesto written as a comic. And one of the most important things in it, like was foundational for me, is that he's like, okay, let's take a look at these frames from the Superman comic, right? And in this frame, you see he's holding the crook by the scruff of his neck. He's got his fist back like this, right? And then the next frame, his arm is all the way through like this, and the crook is flying through the air, right? And he goes, where did the punch happen?
Yeah.
And the punch happened in your mind. Yeah. Like that's where the story happens, right?
Yeah.
And so like if you guys do the business of like giving me these little breadcrumbs all over the place, and constantly in the background, I'm connecting those dots into a bigger picture that is more detailed and more rich than anyone could ever write for us, because it's part of our experience. Like it's built out of our brains. Yeah, and I think that's what's really been wonderful about your work, and it seems to have been consistent since your Alias days, and it's exciting to talk to you about it.
Awesome.
That's super fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate it. I'm excited about season 3. It's been an amazing conversation. I'd love to follow up if you have other things coming on. If you would love to have you as part of the discussion, because I think there's so many things happening in the industry right now that we need people like you that are doing so well to give us hope that there's lots of things that people need to see, that there's like, this isn't all doom and gloom, right?
No, it's not. One of the things I'm starting to do more of and want to do more of is teach. So
that's awesome.
I just am developing a course right now that I'm actually teaching this week at Wright State, Tom Hanks School of Cinematic Arts.
Amazing.
I'm doing it again for the UCLA Professionals program, and it's just called Demystifying Visual Effects. Because, like I said, my fun part is helping train up young filmmakers in how to use this tool called visual effects in a way that works, that's responsible, that highlights what they want to tell and how they want to tell it and get the most out of it. So, I think there's a lot of hope out there. There's still a lot of creative people doing a lot of amazing things. And I think the desire for human connection is never going to go away. If anything, it's going to get stronger. So it's telling the right stories and understanding how to use the tools that we have and the creativity and the amazing creativity that's out there to be able to get those stories told. So that's always the goal.
Yeah, right
awesome.
on, man. Well, it's
thank you so much. I appreciate it,
man. This is fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let me know. Reach out.
Next time, come on and talk more about your plays and play work. I would do that for an hour easy.
That's a whole.
That's a whole other podcast.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one.
All right.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot,
guys. Appreciate the time.
Like in 1971's prime, from Otter's bold dreams to AI's fever dream, where tech meets the silver or LED screen. Pixels and passion are pipelines unknown to host one show on a deadline postponed.